morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you are well. It is Friday already. Friday. Yes. Some people's best part of the week is Friday. Friday. Who's out there checking in with me this morning? Yeah, let's get after this thing. We're in the midst. We're in the midst of something great. That ought to be our posture, that we are in the midst of something great. Come on. We are in the midst of it. I don't know about you, but this is going to work for me. That's what you ought to say. This is going to work for me. Good morning. Good morning to y'all. As you come on, say hello to me so I'll know you're there. We are in the Faith Clinic. Lisa, good morning. Good morning. We are in the Faith Clinic. Yep, that's where we are. We are right in the middle of it. Anita, good morning. Praise the Lord to you. Tiffany, how you doing, Tiffany? How you doing? How you doing? As Wendy Williams would say, how y'all doing? Good morning. Good morning. Nice to see you, Tiffany. Yes. Listen, every message that I am teaching in this faith clinic is going to be a necessity for you to grab a hold of. And we're the Bible talks about establishing the end from the beginning. I believe Isaiah 46:10 says that. And I tell you, as we come into this series, I've been good, great week. Glory to God. As we began this series, my thought pattern and my thinking was that at the end of this series in the Faith Clinic, that your faith would be so strong that it will be able to handle any circumstance, situation, or contradiction. Thurman, how you doing, brother? How are you? That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking that, you know what, when this thing is done, I'm going to be able to handle any circumstance, situation, or contradiction. Yes. Hmm. That's how we're going to roll. That's how we're going to roll. When this thing is done, it don't matter. Hell water, high water, low water. I'm going to be grounded in this thing. And what I'm believing for is going to happen. And if it doesn't happen the way I expect it to happen, your posture ought to be, it's going to be better than what I thought. That's your posture. It's going to be better than I thought. And then you're going to activate because he said he wants to do exceedingly above whatever we ask or think. And just think about that for a second. We serve a God that makes statements like, I'm going to ultimately do stuff beyond your asking. And I'm going to ultimately do stuff beyond your seeing. so so whatever we are believing God for, it's bigger than that. Somebody just tweet that out this morning. It's bigger than that. Whatever you praying about, whatever you standing on, somebody say it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. Everybody that I've talked to that are that have just the blessing of the Lord is on their life. My mentors, all of my mentors that I honor in my life, of what God has been doing through their life, um, they have the same testimony. Marshall Wesley, good morning. And that testimony is they didn't see all of this. They have the same exact testimony. That's one thing about their testimony is the people that I've watched live the life of faith that are my mentors. When I talk to them, they say they never saw all of this. They never saw this stuff. They never saw this thing. And so I want you to think about this for 1 second. Whatever you are believing God for. And that's why it's dangerous to believe small things. Because if he's going to do something exceeding above whatever I ask and think, if you're thinking real small, you know, y'all follow me? If you're thinking real small, then what he may do is be right above the small. But what if you just start to believe for some things you were afraid to believe for? Oh yeah, we're going to stay right there. I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just waiting on all of you. Uh, Remember, Dr. Mike and Dr. Didi will be here tomorrow morning, which is 11 a.m. So set your clock. Don't oversleep. Let's get up tomorrow, and Dr. Mike and Dr. Didi will be on with us talking about relationships of all kinds. So everybody's invited. Single to mingle, married, happily married, all of you. Even if you're not happily married, you better declare I'm happily married and believe it. Yeah, and so get all the married couples up. We're going to do a clinic in the morning. Yeah, Pastor Mo met with the teens yesterday, and she was sharing it with me. And the youth entrepreneurs, she said, man, they got some ideas. She's working with them, man. She busy. She is just busy doing the work. And boy, she was a blessing to the teens. I tell you, you should have sent your teens to Pastor Mo yesterday. If you hadn't, make the next meeting she has, the Zoom meeting she has, you connected because she heard from the Lord in reference to preparing them to become entrepreneurs. We want to build millionaires. So yeah, listen. So good. And I'm getting fired up about this thing. So we're going to talk about. I'm going to tell you the component of faith we're going to talk about, and it's a phrase. I gave you phrases. Y'all have to go back and get that message on Bible study night if you missed it. I talked about faith for the next level. Faith for the next level. You do not want to miss it. And one of the things the Lord shared with me was you need discipline dependency. And I'm not going to reteach it because you're going to have to go get it. See, in this season, you're going to have to be hungry. And I'm not playing with you. I'm going to drop something every time you see me live. You ought to start, okay, what are you going to teach about now? Because I ain't playing. Somebody say he ain't playing. Best them ain't playing with us. He ain't wasting our time. You get up 6 a.m. in the morning to listen to me. You better believe that Jesus is going to meet you there because we ain't playing. Jesus ain't playing with me, and I ain't playing with you. I ain't going to waste your time. My God. And I'm going to make sure your faith at the end of December, your faith is going to be so strong. You're going to bust out in in 2021 and start eating up stuff. And then you're going to see some acceleration, some manifestation. All of that stuff is going to be happening. All of that's going to be happening. You're going to be hitting the ground running. If I'm talking about, now think about it. If I'm talking about faith, just walk with me for 1 second. I'm going to get to the message. Just walk with me for 1 second. If the Lord is leading me, now y'all pretty smart, Lisa, Miss Marsha, y'all smart people. Think about it. Why would the Lord have me talking about faith for 2 months? Why? 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 Just think about that for a second. Now, we're supposed to be walking by faith and living in it. And so if the Lord tells the preacher to start talking about a subject, it is something that you need right now, because something's about to happen. Something is about to happen, and he don't want you to miss it. And when you walking in faith for real, you're going to see some stuff popping off on your life. Just go with me for a second. When Ruth told Naomi, I'm not leaving you. There is something on your life, and I'm going to submit my life to your God. And wherever you go, I'm going to go. Wherever you rest yourself, I'm going to rest yourself. Ruth stepped into the faith zone. She stepped into the faith zone. And then she happened to bump into Boaz's field. She happened to bump into her husband. Come on. Then she happened to get rich. Now, you know there's no coincidence in this thing. She just happened to get rich. She happened to get all of her desires met, all because she made a decision to put God first. And while she was in the faith zone, stuff started happening. Angels start dropping stuff off to her, getting it. So it does matter. It does matter if you're in faith and not in faith. And if God is telling you to get in faith and stay in faith and grow your faith, something's about to happen in your life. And he's given us a moment to get ourselves together so we don't miss nothing coming in 2021. Man, so let's get after this. All right. I want to talk to you this morning. Remember, sharing is caring. Share the video. I want to talk to you this morning about a phrase, another phrase. I'm going to give you another phrase. This one I didn't come up with. God did. And I'm going to tell you in a second. Go to Romans chapter 4. Remember, we're in the faith clinic. Romans chapter 4, verse 13. Romans 4:13. It says, for the promise that he would be heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. And so what that is saying that the promise that was given to Abraham wasn't made through the law, but it was talking about Jesus. That through Abraham, the promise, Jesus would be born through Abraham's line. And this promise of the heir wasn't just given to Abraham. It said, if those who are of the law are heirs, faith is made void, and the promise of no effect. So he's making a difference between the children of Israel who received the law and the people who received the faith, becoming sons and daughters of Abraham, which is you and I. And he said, because the law brings about wrath, for there is no law, for where there is no law, there is no transgression. Therefore, he said, it is faith that it might be according to grace. Therefore, it's all about faith that it might be according to grace. So that the promise might be sure to all the seed. Now he's talking about you and I. He said that the promise that God gave you should be sure to all the seed. Now he's talking about Abraham's children, which is you and I. So if we are seeds of Abraham, sons and daughters of Abraham, and we are, once we believe that Christ is our Savior, we become sons and daughters. He goes on to say, not only those who are of the law, but also those who are who have faith, the same faith Abraham had. Verse 17, you remember this word, as it is written, I have made you a father of many nations, in the presence of whom he believed. In the presence of whom he believed. Think about that. He, in the presence of whom he believed God, who gives life to the dead and calls those things that be not as though they did. And so that is just amazing. God could give us a promise when we're in a dead state. God could give you a promise when it looks like when you look at your life, you go, man, this is dead. This is not even moving. But God gives you the promise in the presence of him who believed. Watch this. Who, contrary to hope, in hope, believed, so that he became the father of many nations, according to what was spoken. So shall your descendants be. Again, talking about you and I. And so he's walking us through how Abraham believed God and how Abraham got everything that he needed, or everything that God said manifested. He's walking us through Abe's story. And in verse 19, and not being weak in faith, he did not consider his own body dead. Oh my God. Hear all these nuggets? Since he was about 100 years old, and Sarah's womb was dead also. Women, y'all know about that. You passing childbearing age, and then God tell you still gonna have a baby. That's a miracle. Verse 20, he did not waver at the promise through unbelief, but he was strengthened in faith, giving glory to God, and being fully convinced that what he promised, he was able to perform. Now, I know that's a handful. And so those of you who are jumping on, we are in Romans chapter 13 and I'm sorry, Romans chapter 4. I began at 13. You can go all the way down into 21 and make this your meditation on this theme, or this word that I'm loosing this morning. It's Foundation Friday, so you know I'm going to teach a foundation with a fresh revelation. Now, how did Abraham, let's look at the circumstances. Remember, circumstances, situations, and contradictions can be overcome. Any circumstance, situation, or contradiction that you're dealing with can be overcome by your faith. By your faith. You just have to believe that God has given you everything to make it happen. Now that's Bible 101. But you got to catch that. You got to believe that. There is no, and make this confession to yourself this morning. There is no circumstance, situation, or contradiction that God hasn't given me faith for. Say it one more time. There is no circumstance, situation, or contradiction that God hasn't given me faith for. Come on, say this one, say this with me. I am fully convinced that what God promised, he's able to perform. Say it. I'm fully convinced. That's my phrase this morning. Becoming fully convinced. Becoming fully convinced. Come on, say, I'm fully convinced. Come on. I'm fully convinced that what God has promised me, he's able to perform it. Yeah, how to become fully convinced. Come on, are y'all standing with me this morning? Come on, somebody just repeat that. Say, I'm fully convinced at this thing. I'm fully convinced. You've got to become fully convinced. You've got to become fully convinced. You got to do just like your father Abraham, get fully convinced on this thing. And so, how do you become fully convinced? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. You cannot consider the circumstances as permanent. You can't consider it. You can't consider it. You cannot consider it at all, which means you reject the circumstances. You cannot consider, see, whatever's happening to you, negative wise, has an expiration date. It's not going to last. It's fading away. You cannot consider it. See, oftentimes when you consider something, you start meditating on it. You start meditating on it, and then you start creating the energy to create that negativity to it continue to exist. You start to bring that energy. See, faith comes with it a certain energy, but guess what, everybody? Mhm. So does fear and worry. When you worry on something, it means your mind is preoccupied with defeat. When you worry, your mind is preoccupied with defeat. And when your mind is preoccupied with defeat, it's full of fear. And when you have that spirit of fear on you and you meditate, you create the energy to produce defeat. So you are a spirit. Do you understand that? You are a spirit. Maybe I'll explain it this way. You are a spirit. Say, I'm a spirit. Come on, you're not a body. You are a spirit. You live in a body, but you're not the body. The you is a spirit. And so because you are a spirit, you have the ability to create an atmosphere that changes circumstances. You have the ability. Oh, you please don't let me lose you. No. Your mental state. Come on. Your mental state, the state of your mentality, what begins to create the atmosphere that you live in. Oh my, as a man thinketh, so is he. And so that's what he meant. That's why he's saying you are a spirit. You're not your body. If your body's sick, you're not sick. Your body's sick. Oh, there's something. Listen, and what's in the spirit can affect the body or the external circumstances. So if your spirit is weak, if your spirit's not strong, if your faith not strong, and you got contradictions and circumstances and situations, you're gonna begin to move. You're gonna be able to think bad things, and then it creates an external reality that's not conducive to you winning. Oh, so please get a hold of this. If you're gonna become fully convinced, you can't consider the circumstances or situation or contradiction. Now you know they're there, but you can't consider them. You can't give it occupying space in your thought life. You cannot let it see. I can't stop from a bird from pooping in my head, but I can sure enough stop him from creating a nest in on my head. Did y'all hear what I said? You can This is Kenneth Hagin way back. He said you can't stop a bird from you can't stop a bird from pooping on your head, but you can stop him from setting up a nest in your head. When you start considering the circumstance, it creates a nest in your head, on your head, where the fowls of the air, which represents demon spirits and negativity, they begin to rest on you. And whatever spirit rests on you, it gives off an aroma and an atmosphere for failure. Man, that's why we can know when we're around each other. And you ever been around somebody you love that you know really intimately, and you sense something wrong and they didn't tell you? And what do you say? What's wrong with you? They never uttered a word, but their mind is boggled by something. You pick it up in a spirit because because you pick up the real person in the spirit. You don't pick it up from their body. You pick it up from their spirit, and you go, "No, you're right. You're lying. Something's wrong. What's wrong?" Now you understand. You follow what I'm saying. So you got to understand, in order to get fully convinced, you cannot allow, you cannot focus on the circumstance, situations, and contradiction and expect to get your needs met or your faith fulfilled. And so that's one of the principles right in the text that Abe became fully convinced because he hoped against hope. He had an expectation. This is the year of expectation. He had an expectation that this was going to happen. And he got fully convinced. He stepped into a faith zone. He says, I'm in a faith zone and I'm not coming out. I'm going to believe this irregardless of what I'm seeing in the natural. I am going to believe it. And so that's how you become, that's one of the principles of becoming fully convinced. He said it right here. He said it right here. It was so plain for us to see it. He said, not being weak in faith, he did not consider his own body already dead. He didn't consider it. He didn't consider it. Your relationship could be in a dead place. Your finances could be in a dead place. Come on, things could be in a dead place. He said, don't consider it. Don't consider it at all. Don't give it no occupying time in your mind. No. And then he tells you what to consider. He tells you to consider his word. He says, consider his word. Make sure that you have that word in front of your eyes and make sure that word is in your mouth. Make sure you're confessing it. Make sure it's what you think about. Make sure until you become obsessed with it, my God, you're not going to see it produce. And so watch this. In order to step into when you get fully convinced, let me tell you what happens to your faith. It begins to work. Now, you may say, Pastor Tim, how is that? Why is that? When you get fully convinced, you know why? Because faith is absolute. You can't be in faith and in something else. You either in faith or you're not. And until you get all in, come on, all in, you'll never become fully convinced. Becoming all in is a precursor to becoming fully convinced. If you're going to be fully convinced, it means you won't settle for nothing that God did not say. Come on. See, that's how you know you've gotten fully convinced. When you don't settle for something that God didn't say. You don't settle for it. You don't settle for it. You look at your life. And if your life does not reflect what the word says about you, don't settle for it. Some of us are in situations, we are in situations and living in certain situations is because we settle for the counterfeit. The counterfeit is simply a lifestyle or a level that God never allowed us, never established for us. Don't settle. See, this message right now this morning on Foundation Friday, this is not about you worrying about how, because some of you thinking, well, how? No. Pastor Mo tells me this all the time. she's like my inner self. She says, because I always like, how you gonna do that? She always says, don't ask me how. Don't ask me how. And it's so much Bible in that. I say, oh my God. She preaching to the preacher. It's so much. So I don't want your thoughts drifting off this morning to trying to think about how. I just want you to think about how you're going to become fully convinced. I just want to, and I'm going to be dropping these nuggets on how do you become fully convinced. Nothing's going to stop you. Let me tell you this. Nothing's going to stop you. You at a precursor to becoming fully convinced, it means that your only option is what God has said. See, that's the problem. We got too many options. And see, until faith becomes absolute, faith doesn't work. Write that nugget down. Until faith becomes absolute, faith doesn't work. It's got to be all or nothing. And so when you got a promise and you're waiting on it and you're believing God for it, don't get up off of it. Stay in it until it breaks. Until it breaks your way. It's going to break your way. And I prophesy to you in this next month and a half, some things are going to start breaking your way. It's going to start breaking your way. Why? Because you got fully convinced. You got fully convinced. And so you mark these things down. The precursor to becoming fully convinced is that you go all in. You go all in on the promise. You go, okay, this is what I'm believing. This is what I'm standing on, and I'm not going to settle for nothing less than this. I'm not going to sell. And listen, if you make a mistake like Abe did, because Abe made a mistake. He made a mistake, and he just didn't believe it, and he went ahead and slept with Hagar, and he made another baby. And y'all heard that. I got a book out called The Counterfeit, and he chose the counterfeit. But isn't it great that even when you choose the counterfeit, God does not change what he said about you? Even when you make a mistake, there's no mistake you can make that God says, I'm changing the plans about you. No, no, you get back on the wagon, you step back in the faith, and God will use your mistakes to deliver you the promise. He'll use your mistakes. He'll use your mistakes to carry you to the promise. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. He'll use your mistake. He'll use what situations and circumstances to carry you into the destiny, if you just believe it. Can you imagine when Joseph was sold in the pit? That situation was used by God to carry Joseph to the promise, to his destiny. Come on. It just moved. He used the situation. And so look at situations and circumstances and contradiction as tools that God uses to get you to the next level, to get you to be fully convinced. And so when I read Romans chapter 4, verse 13, all the way down to 21, it tells me how my father Abraham believed despite what looked impossible. And we can glean it right here. He said he did not waver. He did not waver, which means he did not vacillate. Come on, he didn't vacillate. Often, see, you can't, when you fully convinced, you don't vacillate. You know what vacillate is? Vacillate is when you go in and out. You move in and out, in and out, in and out. You got to stay in. You got to stay in. Pressure come on you, so what? Stay in it. Keep confessing the word. Keep believing the word. Keep believing. Lose some stuff along the way, stay in. Stuff happen you don't understand, stay in. Negative things after negative things happen. No, stay in. No, stay in. Remember what he said. He said he didn't waver at the promise. He didn't get the promise and start shaking. He didn't get the promise and start doing in and out. No, he didn't. Why? Because and he didn't allow unbelief to set in. He didn't allow unbelief to set in. And that's what's happening to believers. We got a lot of unbelieving believers. And unbelief will cancel out your faith. It will cancel out your faith. And unbelief is a product of what you have considered. And so it just didn't happen. Something clicked and he said, this is going to be just like God said. And so to get fully convinced, it's going to require meditation. To be fully convinced is going to require meditation. And you're going to have to meditate on the promise. You're going to have to meditate on the promise. You're going to have to spend a few minutes a day, thinking about the promise. Get in your car and think about it. He said, meditate on how. Joshua 1:9 says, how do I do it? I meditate day and night. Day and night, and you will prosper. And meditate day and night, and don't use the circumstances and situations and contradictions as an excuse on why you jump in and out of faith. You got to meditate. Why does he tell a spirit to meditate, Tiffany? Miss Marshall, why does he tell a spirit? Remember, you're a spirit, not your body. It's because what you meditate on, you create. What you meditate on, you create. When you are just like God, somebody say, I'm just like God. I'm just like God. Say it. Come on now. You don't look like him in a physical sense because God is a spirit, but God has made you just like yourself. Can you imagine if God started thinking about something and then he said it, it would happen? Think about that. Don't go to sleep on this major principle that we just, why? Because I know what I'm teaching Sunday. Oh my God, I know just what I'm gonna teach on Sunday. Say I'm just like God. Say it. I'm just like God. What I think and what I put my words to will come to pass. Say I'm just like God. Come on, I'm just. This is how you're gonna become fully convinced. You gotta. You can say, man, he made me just like himself. He said, so why? And when he tells me to, when he tells me to meditate on it, he knows that the spirit he put in me starts to draw resources to the areas of your. Oh my God, did y'all catch this? When you meditate, you create an atmosphere. It's like whatever you are lacking in your life will begin to be drawn into your life because you started thinking about it. You started thinking about it. You didn't think about that car until you bought that car. The minute you bought that car, you saw that everybody else had one. And does that help you? You didn't think about that car. You thought you were the only one who had that car. Have you ever got that? And you get that car and then you see everybody else had one because you start thinking about it. And that lets us know that it was already, those cars were always there, but you never focused on it. See, what you focus on is what you're going to see come into your life. Mm, mm. Say, I'm just like God. I'm just like God. Whatever I start thinking about starts to draw those things that I need to create that lifestyle to me. It will draw the right people to me. It will draw the resources to me. It will bring the real other connect. See, this is how you become fully convinced. This is how you start meditating on it. Oh, no, I ain't going to consider that. I'm just going to consider this promise, and I'm going, that's what Ruth did. When she thought about, wait a second, I'm not leaving this woman. She started thinking about hanging out with Naomi and staying with Naomi and all of those things. And then stuff start coming to her. Stuff start coming to her because she got fully convinced that being with God was where she needed to be. She got fully convinced. Man, she got fully convinced that she was, I'm not backing off of this thing. She didn't vacillate. Her sister, her sister-in-law Oprah went home and missed an opportunity to meet God. Man, this is so good. Fully convinced. How do I become fully convinced? Because until you become fully convinced, you're not going to see what you're believing God for. And on this Foundation Friday, I'm going to hammer this in your spirit. You're going to be walking around, I got to get fully convinced. I'm becoming fully convinced. How do I do it? I do it through meditation. Why does that work? It's because you're a speaking spirit. And you are a spirit and you're not your body. And whatever you start thinking for, you start releasing the energy to produce what you're thinking. And when you start releasing the energy to produce what you're thinking, what you're lacking will start to show up in your life because God has created you just like himself. Whatever you think on and whatever you meditate on it and day and night, you become, you got it? You got it? The other reason why God tells you to meditate is because he gave you the ability to transform. He gave you the ability to transform. Your soul is transformed. Why? The reason why he tells you to focus on his promise is because your soul has been wounded by sin. And the soul is only transformed through meditation, through meditation, through the soul is only transformed through revelation and meditation and through experience. Do you get this? And so your soul will transform through meditation, experiencing God. It gets healthier and healthier. And the healthier your soul is, the more you will prosper. The more, as your soul prospers, your life will prosper. So it's nothing wrong with your spirit. He gave you a spirit to help transform your soul because your soul is a picture of your capacity. The soul is a picture of your capacity. If I had to take a picture of your soul, it would be a container. It would be a container. And you may have a dream that does not fit in this container. And that means the container, your soul, your mind, your will, your emotion, your intellect, and your memory. That's your soul. If that does not expand, your life will stay small. Your life will stay small. So, what God does is He gives you a revelation from outside your soul in your spirit, so your spirit can speak to your soul and tell your soul what it ought to believe. So, God gives you a promise that outside of your soul into your spirit and tell your spirit to say that to the soul. And when you start to when your spirit starts to focus, my God, there's going to be an energy surrounded around you to believe beyond your experience. And you're going to start getting hungry for what you are meditating on. And it'll draw things. And then when you experience God do something you've never seen Him do, guess what happens? Your capacity increases. See, you don't have a word problem, you have a capacity problem. God didn't leave you short. You have a capacity problem. God has said to you that in order for you to prosper, your soul has to be transformed. How you think, what you meditate on, how you process. Oh, this is some work now. And and that's what Abraham did in order to reach the capacity. So think about it. God told Abraham that God told Abram, who did not have any children. Abraham means a man with no children. Let me use that as an illustration. Abram means a man with no children. Abraham means a man that has many children. So what God did to him was He said, I'm changing your name from Abram to Abraham. When you study that out, you'll notice that He put a vowel in Abraham's name that represented himself. So no longer is he Abram, he's Abraham. And that vowel in there is the same breath of God in His name. That's why I'm telling you, you're just like God and don't know it. You're just like God and don't know it. When God breathed in you, He gave you He gave you a piece of Himself. When He blew in you and you received His Spirit, you became just like Him. He changed your name. My God, He changed your name. It's no longer that you fail, but now He went to work on Abraham's mind. He said, don't call yourself Abram anymore. Call yourself Abraham. What was He doing? He was dealing with his soul. He was dealing with how he saw himself. Don't see yourself as a person not producing. See yourself as a person who's already produced. See yourself as God sees you. Oh, this is just so good. You don't have a faith problem. You have a capacity issue. Somebody tweet that out, please. I don't have a faith problem. I have a capacity issue. You'll notice that if you're not able to produce what God says, it's because you have a capacity issue. Your soul has not been expanded to fit the dream that He put in you. And that means you need to be transformed. You need to be your soul needs to be transformed. You have to upgrade your soul. You got to do what I taught you on Wednesday. You got to you have to have faith for another level. When your soul is this size and you start believing, that's why God always puts the promise outside of our soul. And you start to believing on the promise, what happens is you'll start to expand. And so every time God gives you a word, you start to believe on, and then you start to believe that what God said is yours. You start to expand. You start to expand. I hope people are getting this, because this is one of the reasons why we haven't had fulfillment. It's because our soul is not the promise, it's the problem. It's your soul. What has wounded your soul? What has wounded your soul? And so in order to get fully convinced, you got to get healed. You got to get healed in your soul, healed in your memory. That's why when you have a bad memory sometimes, and if you keep meditating on the bad memory, you'll see that that's why you never be able to move forward. Because if you keep meditating on what should have happened, what could have happened, what I didn't do, what I should have did, see, if your memory starts going on and on like that, it'll stop you from progressing, because you can't move forward and move backward at the same time. And see, and when you start to when you start to think about those things over and over, it'll slow you down. You'll start to go backwards. It's your soul. And if you could just get your soul healed, if you can just get your soul developed, you'll get fully convinced. You get fully convinced. I'm fully convinced. I'm fully convinced about this thing. When Abraham realized, mate, my God, that you going to bless me like this, and then he started thinking about it. And that's why God told him, said, Abe, come on outside. I need to show you what you mean to be meditating on. And he said, look at this, look at the stars. He said, that's how many children you're going to have. You see, and he said, can you count the stars? He said, no, Lord. He said, yeah, I want you to meditate. I want you to be thinking about, my God, I'm going to have that many people going to come through my family line. He said, put your feet in that sand. He said, that's how many children you're going to have. Can you count those kernels in the sand? And he was, what was he doing? He was doing some meditation. He wanted him to start seeing it. He wanted him to start seeing it. So you can't be fully convinced if you don't see it. You got to see it. And that means you got to focus on it until you become what you focus on. And that's how you become fully convinced. That's how, I don't care where you are right now. This is such a practical message, that it's going to challenge you to see, am I fully convinced? Am I in and out Christian? Am I considering the circumstance, situation, and contradiction? Am I complaining about the circumstance, situation, and contradiction? Why would you complain about something that you can change? See, this is because you don't believe that you're like God. Do you think you would be in a circumstance, situation, or contradiction that you could not change yourself? Do you think God will put you in a position where you could not change it yourself? So it's no reason to complain about what other people do to you, because they can't stop you. I make that confession. Can't nobody stop me but me. No, come on. Nobody can stop me. I can. The only person can stop me. Can anybody stop God? And that's going to mess with your head a little bit. Can anybody stop God? No, Pastor Tim. So what makes you think somebody going to stop you? Oh, see, I just messed your head up. Nobody going to stop me. When I get focused on something, and I'm focusing on the word, doing it, ain't nobody going to stop me. Can't nobody stop me. They can talk about me, but they can't stop me. They can hurt me, but they can't stop me. Come on. They can leave me half dead, but they can't stop me. Stop complaining about the haters. Stop even talking about them. Laugh when you see haters. Oh my God. You say, when you see haters, you go, man, I must be in the right place. Glory to God. I got some haters. If you don't have any haters, I submit to you ain't doing nothing. You ought to shout, say, man, I got some haters. People say, how you doing? Man, I met some new haters yesterday. My God, I must be in the right place. Sometimes, I must be in the right place. I ain't getting out of this place because this is where the haters are. Because my haters make me greater. Man, I need to be around my haters because they make me greater. They make me believe that I'm on the right track. I'm on the right track. Okay. So I got 5 minutes. All right. So get a hold of this. I want you to do some homework, and I'm going to help you because I'm going to repeat something I said earlier. I want you to make sure you take a look at Romans 4, and I'm going to ask you, because this is Foundation Friday, I want you to go study it. I don't want you to read it. I want you to get your concordance out. I want you to get a commentary out. I want you to get in this, and I want you to study this. I want you to study what he said about this thing, because you got to get this in your heart. This is how you become full and I want you to know, and I don't care what you're believing for, because we're all believing for God for something. But I'm making a statement to you this morning that until you get fully convinced that what God said is going to happen, you won't be able to see it. And it will not be God's fault. It's because you didn't use your faith to take possession of what was already done. And remember, God cannot help an unbeliever. Mm-mm. He can't help. He can only help believers. Faith moves through believers. So if your soul, and that's why I'm saying this, the soul is the problem, because the only thing that's going to reject this is your soul. Your soul is where your understanding is. Do you know how many people do not believe God because they don't understand it? Do you know how many people say, I don't understand that. That don't make any sense. Go ahead then. Go ahead. Then don't develop. It's not about what you understand. It's about what you believe. And let your belief determine what you do and what you say, not your lack of understanding. Not your lack of understanding. And so get out of the pity party. Stop pointing. Don't stop giving the circumstance and the situation and the contradiction more credit than it deserves. Don't stop giving it more credit, because whenever people say, well, when you look at your life and you say, well, it's not doing, I didn't manifest this or this didn't happen. Why don't you just ask yourself, why? Don't look at nobody else. Look at yourself and go, okay, what about my soul is hindering me from receiving this? Do some inspection. Is my thinking right? Have I rejected some truth along the way? Is my meditation off? No wonder I'm attracting these kind of men. I'm still meditating on the one I lost. And that same joker keeps showing up in different forms. Because what you meditate on, you draw into your life. That was the revelation he gave us. He said, I'm telling you to meditate on my promise, because my promise should not be rejected. And so it doesn't matter if you got dead things in your life. If it stopped working, it could come alive. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how bad it is. Mm-mm. It ought to motivate you to just get fully convinced. I'm going to get fully convinced on this thing. Get fully convinced on this thing. And you're going to see great things. Man, this has just been a good time. Thank y'all for hanging in with me this morning. Remember, sharing is caring. Share the video, sharing it, because I want you to think about this. I want you to be thinking about what you're thinking about. I want you to be thinking about, are you spending enough time in meditation? Are you spending enough time studying the word? Are you what? Because this is the key to regeneration. You just need the word in faith. And so you got to spend time in the word, study the word, and then it'll start to draw stuff in your life. It'll start to draw stuff in your life, and you're going to see it. You're going to see it, man. Pastor Mo is leading the effort to feed 400 seniors and homeless people. And we have seen the Lord's hand on our ministry and on her, because she got focused on doing what she heard. And then resources started coming. Just start coming. And so this is so important, that to be fully convinced, I can't consider that mess. I can't afford to, because I don't want to attract something into my life that's not necessary. The hater's going to come. The difficulty is going to be present. That's not what you've been concerned about. You just need to make sure that you get fully convinced. And I just went over how to do that. And I could do a part 2 if you need me to, and go even deeper. But remember what I said this morning. Your problem is not faith. Your problem is your soul. Your soul. Your soul has to expand because you're believing something that can't fit in your soul. And until your soul expands, you won't be able to put that dream in it. You won't be able to put that dream in it. Part 2 next week on this thing. Next, I'm gonna have to hammer this some more because I see now I'm gonna have to work on your soul. I'm gonna have to spend a whole Foundation Friday on how to develop your soul because you do not have a faith problem. You have a capacity problem. And if you don't fix the capacity problem, man, you'll never see it. And you'll live a mediocre life and you'll wonder what I left undone because you stopped. You never fix the issue with the soul. This has been great. Well, listen, it is wonderful to see all of you. I pray that you would be a blessing to the ministry. That's right, Sister Marcia. Teach that to your children. They don't have a faith problem, they have a capacity problem. See, you're not going to get this anywhere but church. You're not going to get this. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Even when you talk to motivational speakers, you know what they're good at? They're good at working on your thinking and your soul. They don't talk about the spiritual stuff that's connected to it. But motivational speakers, they work on your soul. They got this new thing out now called Noom. Have y'all seen the commercials on Noom? Noom, for helping people with eating habits. You know what the key is for them. Now I haven't researched it out, but based on the commercial I've seen, you know how people are breaking habits on eating is that Noom deals with how you think and what you think about food, and they take you through a series of changing your thinking, and then you start to lose the weight. That's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Any success coach works on your soul. You don't work on your faith. You got faith. You have a capacity issue. And so don't get mad at nobody else if your life is not producing the results you want. Increase your capacity and then you'll see more manifestation. Increase your capacity. And we all must do that. Not just you, me, all, everybody. Everybody must do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the story, you're gonna say, man, I didn't see all this. Because God starts to fill you with his word, you start to get fully convinced, and stuff start breaking off. And I am on a terror this month to build your faith in such a way. You get it? Yeah. And so we are moving into this phase and building our building, and we are believing God for $50,000. I'm believing God in the next 6 months for $50,000 to get us through the first phase. And so I want you guys, there'll be information coming out where you can participate, and you can even participate now. You know, folks, you can sow 250, 500, or $1,000 into the ministry because we have purchased the land by faith. We are in possession of it, and we are going to believe God for this phase, this phase, step by step, step by step. And so I need some partners that are going to help us, build the edifice. We're expanding. And so as we start to expand, God's going to require us to grow in this thing. And so any seed you sow is going to go to that effort. And we pray that you would be a blessing. That'll be coming soon. I'll give every information about that. But I want you to be thinking about that. We are ready to build, and we need we need everybody to participate in this thing. If God has called you to, and I know He's called some of you to help us, consider putting a $500 seed into this ministry as we prepare to take possession of this land and put the house up, and so we can do all the things. We need a building for the homeless ministry that we're doing. And so I'm just going to encourage you to pray about it, seek God about it. Be led by the Spirit. Pray about it, and more information is going to be coming. But don't let that stop you from sowing this morning. We're still believing for 100 partners to sow $28 seed as a monthly partner. So I pray that you would, as you're listening this morning, that you would be a blessing to the ministry. More information can come out. And so I want you to be planning to give. Most of you are my e-partners, members of the HTM family. I want you to be planning to give. So from now into the next 6 months, we're going to be unveiling our plans to complete the first stage and move into possession of getting the building up. Amen. And that's just, you're watching us do this by faith. This is a wonderful thing. And so you go to, I'm sure, I don't know if I got to take some pictures of the land and put it on the website so y'all can see it. So it's going to be great. And this is a good year to do it. I mean, you can, if you're willing to place your seed into the ground, all seeds are tax deductible. You can get it in by the end of the year and can do that now. And it'll go to you when you file your taxes for the next year, it'll go down as a deduction. So I want you to be praying about this, because I know God is going to send partners, because we're all in. And I want you to partner for our building project. I really want you to do that. And so prayerfully consider that. More information is going to be coming, but we are going to be aggressive in this season. Yes, and moving in 2021, we want to see that building up. And that's our mindset. We're doing this. We're believing God for this. So be mindful. Every seed you sow goes right back in to support the ministry. It really does. It really, really does. If you want to send us the check, send a check to us, you can do that. Our PO box is up on the screen now, right in the comments. HTM PO Box 67, Odessa, Delaware 19730. Listen, remember Dr. Mike and Dr. B tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Take advantage of the ministry we're bringing to you. It's going to bless your life. It will bless your life. Tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., set your clock. Join us. We'll have the Apostle and Dr. Didi tomorrow morning. Listen, guys, have a great, great weekend. I know you will. Know that I'm praying for you. We're praying for you, and we're just believing God to complete the work He started. Have a good day.